Yes, a very good afternoon to all of you. Right, so we are discussing our first chapter, that is the introduction to the business communication, right, in which we have seen the meaning of communication, right, then also what is the importance of communication, that right, that what is the need to communicate, well, can't we just keep silent, right, but then we've understood that even if you just keep silent, even that is a way in which you communicate. Okay, because it's your body language which also says quite a lot of things. That's what we had seen. And then after that we'd seen the process of communication and what are the elements involved in the basic elements in the communication process. We said there is a sender, there is a receiver, there is a message, then there is a medium to send that particular message, there is a channel used to communicate the message, and then the communication process is completed only after you get the feedback, right, for the message which is being sent. Then after that we came to the discussion on the principles of effective communication, right. So you want to be a good communicator. In order to be a good leader, also very important that you should be having wonderful amazing communication skills, right. You want to be a good manager, you want to be a good business person, any profession, any business, very important for you to be having the appropriate, the fine communication skills, right. So therein we discussed about what are the principles of the effective communication, right. So we talked about the 7 C's and the 4 S over there, right. 7 C's, the credibility, right. So that means being truthful and honest, right. Then after that we talked about the courtesy, that is being polite, right. Then the clarity, that is absolute clarity, regarding the ideas, the information which is to be communicated. Correctness, that is the correct facts and figures should be stated and not something which is vague or which cannot be understood, right. So facts and figures. Consistency, right, that is there should be no confusion regarding the idea, the thought which is to be conveyed by the sender, right. So consistency in the message, there should be no confusion in the mind of the sender, otherwise that same confusion he will transmit to the mind of the receiver, right. Concreteness, that is again no abstract, no vague information given over there, supported by the facts and figures, what we talked about in the correctness, right. Then conciseness, that is brief, right, in a simple manner, not using very complicated technical jargon, excessive information, but only simple and brief statements to be made, right. So with conciseness also comes the shortness, right. So shortness is, we said that brevity is the soul of wit, right. So unnecessarily making use of too many words, it says no, avoid that, right. Simplicity, so again simplicity, it would lead to clarity, more easy to communicate the message and the content or the intended, the intention behind sending the message, right. So simplicity. Then after that the strength, right. Strength again comes when you are able to establish credibility, that they know, okay, if this person is saying so, then it should be true, right. So that's regarding the strength. And finally comes the sincerity, which is again related to the credibility, that is not giving any fake information, false information, right. There should not be any touch of falsehood, right, in the information being said, right. So even otherwise the transactions which are, the business contracts which are to be going into full swing, right, they would also not materialize, right. So that is regarding the principles of the effective communication. Then after that we talked about the types of communication, and we saw the verbal communication, the non-verbal communication, and the visual communication, right. Under the verbal communication we had the written communication and the oral communication, right. So based on the communication channel we had the verbal, the non-verbal, and the visual, right. Under the verbal communication we had the written communication and the oral communication, right. So written communication, for you to be effective in your written communication, your writing style, vocabulary, grammar, clarity, important, right. Then for you to be effective in your oral communication, right, what does it say? The clear speech and the tone used by the speaker, very very important, right. So that way your body language and the visual cues would affect the quality of interaction among the individuals or the groups, right. So we have the written communication and the oral communication under the verbal communication. And so based on the communication channel, verbal, non-verbal, and the visual. Under verbal we have the written and the oral, right. So oral, then we studied a lot of essentials of the oral communication, right? Lot of essentials of the oral communication, right? Then after that, the non-verbal communication. So we talked about the, the physical non-verbal communication, that is the body language, right? Then the para language, right? Then also the aesthetics, the appearance, and the symbols. And this non-verbal communication, it contributes to 93% of the total communication, right? So verbal communication consisting of words and language, that contributes just, right, 7% of your communication. The remaining 93% is of the non-verbal communication. And very important in the non-verbal communication also is the body language and the para language, right? So how you present yourself, right? How you are dressed. And we talked about the appearance also over there, right? So how do you, what is your posture, right? How is your eye contact when you're talking? What is the tone of your speech? Are you talking too, too high a volume, or too low a volume, or too fast or too slow? So that would also affect the communication, right? So that's the para language regarding how you speak. Right, body language regarding what are your movements and what are your gestures, right? So your stances, your gestures, your touches, your other physical signals, right, constitute, yes, this type of communication. So are you fidgeting with anything or something like that, right? So we have the body language, the para language, right? Then the aesthetics, the appearance, and the symbols, right? And then also we talked about the visual communication, right, which aids your verbal communication or your oral presentation or so, right? When you put some pie charts, some graphs, some diagrammatic presentations or so. Right. So that was one type of communication based on the purpose and the style, right? Based on the communication channel. And based on the communication channel, we had the verbal, the non-verbal, and the visual communication, right? Based on the communication channel, verbal, non-verbal, and the visual. Now we continue with our discussion. So this is up to what we have already seen in the previous class. Right, so now coming to our further discussion, which is regarding the type of communication now based on the purpose and the style, right? That is the, yes, the formal communication and the informal communication, right? So based on the purpose and the style, it could be the formal communication or the informal communication, right? So you attending the board meeting, the board of directors, having the board meeting of the company, and the board meeting or the annual general meeting of the company, right? The shareholders, the annual general meeting, AGM of the company taking place, right? This could be a classic example of a formal communication. There is not going to be any informality over there. There are going to be some rules, regulations, some business etiquettes, right? Some flow of the topic, some agenda which is already decided upon, which is going to be used for communication over here. So that's the formal communication. And you meet those, yes, your friends, your colleagues in office, in the canteen, right, in the cafeteria, over a cup of tea or over a cup of coffee. And there you have a discussion with your colleagues or with your friends or with family, anybody, that would be an informal communication. Right, so based on the purpose and style, it says it could be the formal communication or the informal communication. Right, formal communication is is what you say, the senior in the organization is communicating with the subordinate, and he is giving the instructions to the subordinate in the organization, right? So seniors, and the seniors, the higher level authorities, giving the instructions to the lower level authorities, and then the lower level authorities, what you say, doing the work and reporting to the higher level authorities. That would be the vertical communication, and that is going to be the vertical communication, top level to subordinate and subordinate to top. And the top level will give to the subordinate the instructions, and subordinate will give to the top level the reporting. And so instructions and reporting, this is the vertical communication. Then you have the horizontal communication, people at the same level in the organization, but say in different departments communicating with each other. Say inventory manager having a work with the production manager of the company, and that how much inventory should I order, how much of raw material you have in stock, and then how much of what you say goods you intend to manufacture, or how many more goods are to be manufactured, what is the production plan, right? So inventory manager, production manager, purchase manager, sales manager, marketing manager, finance manager, accounts manager, right? All these people at the same level in the organization communicating with each other is going to be the horizontal communication, right? And diagonal communication, it is going to be a communication across the organization, right? So here there is no particular line of authority which is being followed, right? It could be higher level directly to the subordinate, right? Subordinate to the manager, manager to some higher level, then again manager to some subordinate, right? So there is no particular protocol or a sequence or a delegation, a line of order which is followed over there. It is a communication which could take a place across the organization, that is the diagonal communication, right? We also sometimes refer to as the star network, and anybody communicating with anybody in the organization, those type. And informal communication, we have a very interesting concept over there which is regarding the grapevine, wherein most of the rumors in the organization, they get generated over there, some false information, some rumor regarding the company created over there, right? So in the informal communication, oh, this boss is going to leave office, so who's from where some information coming somewhere informally, not formally. I know. So that informal information, not knowing the authenticity or the genuineness or the truth of the information, but just some information doing its round in the organization, going amongst people, right? That's the grapevine. That is the rumor. Okay, right. So effective communication and free flow of information within a company is crucial for its success, right? So effective communication. Well-structured formal communication channel needs to be established in every organization, right? So you need to have a formal communication channel. Right, and informal channels of communication are equally important for the health of the company. Because finally you develop a bond over somebody, not only in when you're attending the board meeting of the company, but when you're having a cup of tea or coffee with that person, right? So it's very important you feel that unity amongst working of the people in the organization. So as important is the formal communication, right? Obviously when you're talking about office work, when you're discussing business, yes, it has to be formal communication, but there also has to be some amount of personal touch which is involved in the communication. Say some subordinate in the organization, he seems to be very upset today. Okay, he's not able to focus on the work, he's not able to understand the instructions or whatever you're telling him. So now probably at lunch, when you meet him in the cafeteria, you ask him what happened. So he says, my mother is very ill, her health is not good, even the many medicines are not supporting, even we are taking opinions of doctor, so I'm very much feeling upset and concerned about it. So the senior says, oh, then why did you come to office? You should have taken leave for 3-4 more days. Don't worry, we'll take care of work over here, right? So that type of, this is an informal communication. This is not some business or agenda or some orders or some product or process of the company being discussed. But is it important for the health of the company? Very much. Is it important for the health of the company? Very much. Right, so most verbal communication, so whatever in words between friends, families and communities are informal and casual in nature. Right, so we are talking about the formal communication, business communication and the informal communication. Right, informal communication. Right, so formal communication, the president, right, the managing director, the CEO, right, the CFO, the chairperson of the company, president, right? Then you have the vice president, right, say finance, vice president, marketing or so, right? Then under them you have the different managers working, right? So information, then efforts are to be made at coordination, right? So they will be giving the instructions and a higher level to the subordinate level. And this is the higher level, superior level, right? Higher authority, and this is the subordinate level in the organization, right? So higher level will give to the subordinate level the instructions, the directives, right, regarding the work to be done. And then the subordinate level will give to the higher level the information, the report regarding the work which has been done, right? What is the outcome of the instructions which were given. Okay, right. So now formal communication, both oral and written, right? So it's not necessary that it has to be written, it could be oral also, right? So for oral and written, verbal communication, right, follows certain rules, principles, and conventions in conveying the message. Right, so that's formal. You have to be formal, means you have to follow some rules, you have to follow some regulations. So say I want to talk to the CEO of the company, I cannot just get up from my terminal, from my desktop, and I just go and enter into the CEO's cabin and tell him that, oh sir, I want to tell you something, or yes, I wanted to talk to you about this. No, there is a secretary in the company. You have to tell the secretary that I need to speak to the boss, right? Please check whether the boss is available. Then the secretary will call the boss and say that so and so person wants to talk to you, right? So they'll say, okay, come at 2 o'clock, and then you can go at 2 o'clock again, right? Again, confirming once before going. Right, so there are some rules, there are some regulations, there are some protocol, there is some procedure which is to be followed. There is some procedure which is to be followed. If you want to talk to your boss or so, you want to talk to your friend, simply pick up the phone and just tell your friend, what are you doing? Okay, let's meet for coffee. That's informal. Right, so rules, principles, conventions in conveying the message. Okay, the hierarchy in the organization has to be followed. The hierarchy, right? So yes, I hope you all understand hierarchy, the organization structure. What we had seen over here, the organization structure. Right, so how do I talk to the CEO of the company, president of the company? What is the procedure? So you say you want to talk to the principal of the college, right? So again, there is a set procedure which is to be followed. You go to the office, you go to admin department, you say I need to talk to the principal about some matter. Then they will go and ask the principal that some student wants to meet you, and then you go and meet the principal. You understand, right? So the hierarchy in the organization has to be followed. Formal format, style, and language have to be used. So now if I enter into the cabin of the managing director, the CEO of the company, I don't say hi. I say, hi, how are you? When I meet my friend, I do say that, hi, long time, how are you? Okay, but if I'm going to the cabin of my boss, I am certainly going to say, may I come in? And then after that, good morning, sir, good afternoon, sir, good evening. Right, and yes, good afternoon, good morning, greeting, and then you'll be standing over there, and when the opposite person offers you to okay, please sit down, take a seat, then you take a seat. Right, so what does it say? The formal format, style, and language have to be used. The communication pattern can be vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. Right, so next the discussion which we have over there is regarding the vertical, horizontal, and the diagonal. Right, so vertical. And information can flow upwards or downwards in the organization. Right, so upwards or downwards in the organization. Vertical. Right, up to down or down to up. Upwards or downwards in the organization. Data that is collected flows up to the top level of management for review and decision making, while instructions and orders are passed down from the management seniors to the subordinate for the implementation. Right, so data that is collected flows up to the top level for the management for review and decision making, and instructions and orders are passed down from the management seniors to the subordinate for the implementation. Okay, next one, horizontal. So when the moment I imagine vertical, easy. Horizontal, and what does it say? Horizontal communication that involves communication between two parts of the organization at the same level. And the same level, inventory manager, production manager, marketing manager, sales manager, same level. Right? For example, the managers of a project in a company may hold a regular daily, monthly, weekly meeting to discuss the progress of the project. Right? So that's a horizontal communication, and diagonal communication, and a cross-functional communication. Right, so any level, talking with any level in the organization between employees at different levels of the organization hierarchy is described as the diagonal communication. Right, so cross-functional communication, right? So directly the CEO of the company calling from the information at the most subordinate level, right? Or manager talking to the subordinate level, or subordinate level directly communicating to the higher management, right? So it is star network type. right, of the organization hierarchy is described as the diagonal communication, है ना, cross functional communication. Diagonal communication is increasingly common in larger organization. It reduces the chances of distortion or misinterpretation by encouraging direct communication between the relevant parties. So A tells B and then B tells C. It's better that A directly tells C. You say no, vertical communication, horizontal communication. It says whosoever wants the information, let that person directly ask. Let those two people directly talk. Right? So diagonal. Right? So it reduces the chances of distortion or misinterpretation by encouraging direct communication. So cross-functional communication, direct communication between the relevant parties. Right? For example, a junior engineer reports directly to the general manager regarding the progress on the project. Right? So that's the diagonal communication. And then after that we are having the informal communication. Right? Informal is casual, friendly, unofficial. And informal communication, casual, friendly, and unofficial. Whereas formal communication, what do we say? Follows certain rules, principles, conventions. Formal communication, what did we say? It follows certain rules, it follows certain principles, it follows certain conventions. Conventions. Whereas informal communication, what does it say? It is casual. It is friendly. Right? And it is unofficial. And it is unofficial. It is spontaneous. So not planned. Spontaneous. And immediately at the moment. In a last minute type, spontaneous conversation. So not that you had decided that today we'll be talking about this. It just happened. And a spontaneous conversation and exchange of information between two or more persons without conforming to prescribed official rules, processes, systems, formalities, and chain of command. And so no rules, principles, conventions which you follow in the formal communication are to be followed in case of the informal communication. No rules, no principles, no commands, spontaneous and unofficial communication. Right. Informal communication is between family, friends, neighbors, members of the community and other social relations which are based on common interest and disposition. You could be a part of some Lions Club, some Rotary Club, some other Goodwill Club, which you could be a part of member. Right? So members of a community and other social relations which are based on common interest and disposition. Right? Between family, friends, neighbors, members of community. But it could also be there in office also. When you're having lunch with your employees, when you're having tea with your employees, with your colleagues in office, that is also an informal communication. Right? So information can flow again from any source in any direction. So again, what is working over here is the diagonal communication. And a diagonal information can flow from any source in any direction. Right. Employees in an organization interact with each other outside the formal domain. The formal communication, so yes, but outside the formal domain also the employees communicate in an organization, communicate with each other. And such communication is called as the grapevine. Look at the wonderful word. It says the gossip in the office. Gossip. How much you gossip. That type. We might have heard this term. No, gossip in the office. Right, so employees of different departments and varied levels meet and discuss matters casually and informally. Right, the grapevine satisfies the social needs of the people and helps in building relationships. And so like many a times you would have seen, that's how a human personality is shown. Okay, you tell your friend, I'm telling it to you, but you please don't tell anyone. And then that friend, and you see this happening in the movies and so, then that auntie, that friend, that person will, now she is feeling so uncomfortable till the time she doesn't tell it to somebody. And so it's like she has to tell it to somebody. So then going, oh, see, I'm not supposed to tell her, but I'm telling you, okay, this is what is the matter. Okay, you don't tell anyone, just because I trust you, trust you, that's why I'm telling you. Then that person goes and tells the other person, and then it becomes a BBC News. And all India radio channel type of a news it becomes. Okay, but it helps in building the relationships. It is also useful in addressing certain needs and grievances of the employees. And as you cannot just say you're not happy with your boss, you're not happy about your boss behavior, or you want to leave. You cannot tell it formally to your boss, but informally say you happen to tell your colleague, and then your colleague happens to tell the boss, and then say probably the matter is looked into. Okay, but grapevine, again, what does it say? There could be some, the risk in grapevine is also the risk of the rumors, and some false information about the company could get circulated by way of these grapevines. Right, so again, but to some amount, some quantity of this rumor, it says it is very important, to be, as it is very, very important for the health of the organization, as it satisfies the social needs of the people and helps in building the relationships. You are able to find a connect, with the opposite, with the people who are working in your organization, with the people whom with you are interacting with. Right, it is also useful in addressing certain needs and grievances of the employees. So, your boss has already given you such a terrible firing today, for the work that you've done, saying you're good for nothing, so hopeless, so bad in your work. And the next day he'll praise you also. But today, though, he's given you left, right, center firing. And okay, very bad in work. This is not how you work in an organization. I wonder what is the use of your degrees. Means all your degrees, all your performance, everything done till far. So everything he has talked about it today. Okay, so obviously you are going to be feeling very suppressed and depressed and demotivated because of it. Right, so if you tell your friend, just your colleague in office, no, so friend asks, what happened? You seem to be in bad mood today. No, boss firing, very bad. So what to do now? But I have to work, it's my family is dependent on me. So I'll take steps to improve. That's all what I can do. Okay, right, so that again it says it is helpful, in addressing the certain needs and grievances of the employees. Right, so informal communication, right, so what is it? The communication, types of communication based on the purpose and the style. So what could be the style? It could be a formal communication, or it could be an informal communication. Okay, right, now coming to the last two parts of the discussion in this unit 1, chapter 1, which is regarding the barriers to communication, and then after that we have the guidelines to overcome the barriers to the communication. Right, so like, I'm trying to say A and you are saying what? What are you trying to say? So not understanding what the person is trying to say. Right, so there is a barrier. You're not understanding what I'm trying to say. There is a communication gap. There is a misunderstanding. Right, so why? What could be these different barriers to the communication is what we are going to be discussing over here. I hope all of you are listening to me. Is it all going fine? All good, everyone? Right, all good? Yes, I hope it's all good. Then all of you are sitting straight and listening to me very, very carefully. Yes, and developing confidence in communication. That's the main purpose, We talked about it the other day, that we read a number of books regarding how to drive a car. Unless and until we actually drive a car, we can't, actually, unless and until we sit on the steering, on the driver's seat, we can't, really learn to drive a car. Right, so how much ever theory we study regarding communication, finally, if you have some amount of boost in your confidence to communicate, and you feel confident, you say that yes, now I've got more ideas regarding how to communicate more effectively, then the purpose of these lectures and these classes and this subject is getting served. And otherwise to not getting served. Okay, right, so now we talk about the barriers to communication, and they say, oh my god, there are so many barriers to communication. Right, you have the physical barriers, you have the physiological barriers, you have the perception barrier, the technical barrier, right, organization structure barrier, language barrier, cultural barrier, emotional barrier, attitude barrier. Right, so these are the different types of barriers which could be there to the communication. And one by one, let us try to address each one, study, understand what could be these. So in one particular communication, there could be more than one of these type of barrier. There could be one, or there could be more than one. If there are more than one, then more the miscommunication. Right, so first is the physical barrier. Right, so say right now you're attending the class, and when you're attending the class, is a lot, say your house is near the area where there is a very busy street right down over there, and there's just a signal over there, and there are too many vehicles and too many horns which are, you know, horns of vehicles which are making sound. So obviously now even what I'm trying to say, you won't be able to listen to it carefully. Why? Because of the noise, because of the disturbances. Right, so noise, technical disturbances, and sometimes when you're watching some particular, attending some program or so, or say, there is some particular noise or disturbance. Like we talk about technical barriers also. Say you're attending some Zoom live class, and now there is some data network problem and a range connection, network connection. So that is why there is buffering. So obviously now by the time your system is buffering, you would have missed 3-4 lines of the content of the class, and you would miss the link. Right? So that's a barrier to communication. You may not be able to understand properly. And outdated equipments. And so you have some 2G or some old type of phone which you are using for attending the classes or so. So outdated equipment, right? Distant locations, right? So say sometimes, even the weather, even the environment could also could be a barrier to the communication. Now say it is extremely hot, like say 48 degrees Celsius or so. So now you're trying to pay attention, but you're feeling so hot, you're like, completely filled up with sweat, and then now you're not able to focus. You're feeling so thirsty. And even though you want to try to understand what the other person, what the sender is saying, but you're not able to focus, right? So again, that's a physical barrier. So it is very cold and you forgot your jacket or your sweater today. Say it is 1 degree or 2 degrees Celsius. Now again, you're trying to listen, but you're trying to, your entire attention is not on the class. It's on that you are feeling very, very cold. And you're feeling very, very cold, right? So these are the physical barriers. Now see, all these barriers which are there now, all what these 10 barriers that we are talking about over here, one, it could be a barrier from the sender side, or it could be the barrier from the receiver side, or it could be the barrier relating to the channel which you're using for communication, the medium which you're using for the communication, and the medium, the means which you're using to communicate. And I say I'm using a video call to communicate, and now that video call, the data network problem. So that's a problem relating to the medium of communication. The sender and the receiver, they don't speak the same language. And the sender can speak only in English and the receiver can only understand Hindi. So now again, that's going to be a problem, barrier in communication from the sender receiver side, and the sender and receiver side. Are you understanding, right? So sender is not knowing Hindi and the receiver is not knowing English. So obviously there is a problem. There is a language barrier in the communication. And so whichever barrier, whatever 10 types of barriers that we are seeing over here, it could be a sender oriented barrier, it could be a receiver oriented barrier, or it could be a technology, the medium, the means, and a related barrier. Okay, yes, because of which you may not be able to communicate effectively. So they are a result of surroundings, noise, one of the biggest problem, and you require peace. So when you're attending classes, there cannot be too much of noise and disturbances going around. You cannot focus. And you require silence, very important requirement for concentration. Right? So noise, technical disturbances, outdated equipment, distant location, and office doors, office doors. Even now you are attending the class and somebody rings the doorbell, or all of a sudden somebody bangs the door, or somebody closes the door, open the door. Even because of that, your attention gets distracted. See, we are discussing a very important topic right now. When office some meeting is going on and some quotation, some order of goods to be placed, or some new product strategy, sales strategy is being discussed, and all of a sudden that peon, he comes in and he knocks and he says, may I come in? And he says, oh, will you take sugar with the tea or not take sugar with the tea? Now he coming in between and offering you the tea is also a barrier to communication. And a barrier. Sometimes you get irritated also. You said, yeah, why did you come right now? You could have come later. Please don't, nobody. Or you put a D&D. Do not disturb right now. Right? Very important discussion going on right now. And let's say regarding the sales strategy, the marketing strategy of the company, the new branch which the company wants to, open at a particular location. Right, so office doors and even the spaces, right, large or separate areas for people of different areas, and so again people working in different offices, large office spaces. And so you sitting on the 12th floor and your subordinate sitting on the second floor of the office, and now every time you need to communicate by the lift, you need to go up and down, talk and all, right? So again, that requires, it's not easy to communicate. Had the subordinate had a cabin or a cubicle next to you, it would have been easy to communicate. So every time you going down to the second floor or he coming up to the 12th floor, it says again it's a barrier to communication. Old technologies, and you have some 1930s or 1940s phone in your office for communicating. And so old technology and lack of appropriate infrastructure can lead to problems in the transmission. Transmission means what? The medium. And the channel being used for the communication. Right? So that's the physical barrier, and mainly affected by the surroundings. And mainly which gets affected by the surroundings. And the space, right, the old technology, separate areas for people of different areas, right? So you say that, oh, now here the customer, the company warehouse is here, but the customer care center is in some other city, and it's very difficult to communicate. As you say, it should all be centralized also, right? So physical barrier, and main noise, disturbances, any sort of disturbances, and maybe people disturbances, door disturbances, technology disturbance, infrastructure, any of those, and a space disturbance, right? Noise or disturbances, even the environment, the weather. It could be the physical barriers to the communication. Then after that we have the organization structure barriers, right? Organization structure, that means the roles and responsibilities in the organization, right? So that no clear or not clear or have gaps in them, right? So when the system, the structure and the processes in the organization are not clear. So now say you are facing a problem regarding how to use this, how to pass the sales entry into the system. Say you've newly joined the company, but now you say, okay, I don't know whom I should ask. I don't know. There is nothing written in the policy of the company, in the procedure manual of the company. It's not written that whom do I communicate to. Right? So whom do I communicate to, or whether how I should communicate to? If this you are not able to identify, then that's an organization structure barrier. And the organization structure in the organization is not well defined. And the roles and responsibilities in the organization are not properly defined. Right? So communication problem occurs when the system, structures and the processes in the organization are not clear. And this happens when you go to the, you go to say a bank and you tell them that, I want to open a new bank account. So they say, okay, go to that person. So you go to that person and then you say, I want to open a new bank account. He says, no, I look into gold loan. Go to that person. Then again you go to that person. He says, no, that person who looks into opening of bank account, he is not there in this office anymore. So you go to that manager. You go to manager. Manager says, no, I'm in a very important meeting. Alright, so now what you decide, I don't want to open a bank account with this particular bank. In opening bank account, only if there is so much of problem, I don't know later what customer service they will provide me. So I better go to some other bank and open an account over there. Right. So bank has lost a potential account holder. The bank has lost a potential customer just because of the structure. There is no proper structure. There is no proper system, structure, processes. And then nowadays too, when you go to the bank, after the security guard, immediately there is one manager in tie who is roaming around over there. And the moment you enter over there, he asks, yes, how may I help you? So then you say, I need to open a new bank account. So I have come to take the details for the same. He'll say, yes, please come. And then he'll make you sit in front of that person who is responsible for opening the new bank account. And they ensure, then you say, no, I don't have the physical copy of the Aadhaar card, I have the scanned copy or whatever. Immediately, all said and done, they will ensure next 10 minutes your account is opened. Right. So obviously, so they don't lose a customer, they have a new account holder now. Right. So now how is that possible? Because the systems, the procedures, the structure, the process in the organization are well defined. Right? So in the organization are not clear or have gaps in them. If the chain of command is unclear and things moving from one table to another. So I'm telling somebody, you know, I call up and say that to an organization that I'm facing some issue with the use of the technology. They say, okay, you call Mr. A and he will look into the matter. So then I say, okay, give me the number of A. They give me the number of A and then I call up A. Then he says, no, there is another person who looks into that matter, D. I'll give you the number of B, you call D. So then I say, okay, give me the number of D. So then I send a message to D. Then D says that no, now I'm leaving the organization, so I'm no longer looking into it. So now you please contact again A. Right? So again you go to A. Then A says, no. What you do, there is a manager who is there. You ask manager whom you should talk to. So you say, boss, I'm already facing a problem over here. And now you are moving things from one table to other. You people also don't know, okay, who is responsible for what. He says, I would not tolerate this at all. Right? I want one person from whom my query will get resolved. You cannot say, no, I'm not responsible. Every damn thing you ask, you say, I'm not responsible. He is not responsible. He looks into this. They look into that. So organization structure made. But nobody knows who is doing what work. So chain of command is unclear. Everybody thinks the other person has to do the work. I just have to give the instruction. And the chain of command is unclear. A person may not know whom to contact for a particular issue. Like say Amazon, Flipkart, you want to put a complaint or raise some issue over there. So they ask you, what is your query regarding? Contact us, customer care. So you say your query is regarding your order which you placed. Then order, they ask you, what is it? You want a replacement? You want to exchange it? Any quality issues? What is the matter? Or they say, is it not related to any of these, any other issues? Then do you want to contact a customer care? Right, many a times on phone also, when you call any customer care, they say for English dial 1, for Hindi dial 2, right? Then for product replacement dial 1, then for this particular to talk to a customer sales executive call 9. And then you call, dial 9. And then when you dial that 9, it says you are in queue, right? It is approximately 10 minutes waiting time. We appreciate your patience. And then you keep on waiting, half an hour, nobody answers. So you don't know whom to contact for a particular issue. Inappropriate information transmission system. So again, the channel of communication, lack of supervision, and unclear role and responsibility. I'm telling you now, this is just paperwork. On paper it sees that there is an organization structure, role, responsibility defined, but no chain of command, no role and responsibility defined. What does it say? Chain of command is unclear. Unclear role and responsibility demarcations lead to confusion and inefficiency. Right? So organization structure. Right? So chain of command unclear, role and responsibility unclear. Even that could be a very, very, very big barrier to communication. And the person who wants to communicate, he gets irritated. And inefficiency, it leads to confusion. Right? So that's the second barrier over there, the organization barrier, organization structure barrier. Right? Then we have the language barrier. And a language barriers, right? So nowadays companies, they have a, an international presence. Say you have to deal with the vendors or the suppliers from Japan, right? You have to purchase a lot of machinery, say from Germany or so. And now say these, yes, you being from India, right? But you are knowing English, but you are not knowing Japanese, not knowing German language. Right, so now there is going to be a language barrier in the communication, and it can create many obstacles in the communication, lack of knowledge of the language, right? So you need to have an interpreter along with you. And also now there is the Indian person sitting over here who knows English. Then there are these foreign delegates, right? The Japanese and the German person sitting over there, and there is a translator, an interpreter in between. Right, so you say something in English, then you translate to that person in German, right? Then again that German person says something, then again this person translates it in English for you. Right, so literally people from different regions and countries may interpret the same words differently. Right, so again same word could be also having different meanings in different countries. Right, difficult words, subject specific terminology, unfamiliar expression, ambiguous words create hurdles in communication, barriers. it is also a fact that the linguistic ability of various people in the workplace is different. Like some people may be very proficient in the language, while others might just possess the basic skills. And some people you see in your organization, they are like speaking such fluent English, and you are stammering even to speak one sentence in English. Right? So therefore, it is important to use clear, simple, easily understood language in most of your official communication. Right? So using subject specific terminology which the opposite person does not know, unfamiliar expression, difficult words, ambiguous words create the hurdles in communication. And so what we had studied in our principles of effective communication, simplicity, right, is what we need to follow over here. And a simplicity in the communication. And a simplicity in the communication. Right? So language barriers. Right? The other day we also talked about the people having a different accent, and a British accent, American accent, Australian accent, right? Even in speaking the English language itself. Right? So that's again a barrier to communication. Say the American, he is speaking in English only, but his accent of speaking English is altogether different. Right? So even that could be a barrier to the communication. Right? So that's the language barrier. Using difficult, complex words and ambiguous words, it might lead to a barrier to communication. Next one, the cultural barriers. And cultural barriers. So cultural barriers would be in the context of, let's say, regarding what you say, the different cultures across the world, in terms of, say, the dressing, in terms of greeting, in terms of shaking the hand, and in terms of, bowing in front of the opposite person. Different cultures could be having different meanings. And the different cultures could interpret it as a different thing. Like, say, just as an example, like, say in just I am not talking about any religion bias, but just to give you an example of a cultural difference which could be there. Like, say, in the Hindus, and white is considered to be a color which is to be worn by the widow. Like sati and all, you would have seen on those earlier days or so. Like, so if you see the widow or so in Hindus, it would be she who would be wearing the white color. Okay, whereas in Christian religion, in the wedding gown, which is being worn by the bride, that is white color. So according to Christian religion, it is considered to be an auspicious color. But in Hindu religion, it is considered to be a color which is for sadness, which is to be used. And it also has a different meaning in some different contexts. But I'm just talking about it right now in one particular context. Okay, your white color is to be in Hindu religion, it is to be, would used to be worn by the widows or so. But in Christian religion, it is being worn on the day of the wedding itself. And so that's a cultural difference. That's a cultural difference. And in some particular, what you say, countries, if you bow down in front of somebody, it is considered to be a sign of disrespect, right? Or it is to be considered to be a sign of strength. Okay, right? But in India, if you bow down in front of somebody, it is considered to be a sign of respect and not any sign of, strength or weakness as such. It is just simply a sign of respect. Right? So it's simply a sign of the respect. Right. So as another example is, say, in terms of the dressing. Okay. Now, and yes, say an Indian woman attending a particular conference or seminar, say in the Indian context. Nowadays, everything is very much global. There is a lot of free culture everywhere that we are talking about, but talking of it in traditional terms. Okay. If you see an Indian woman formally dressed, and generally it would be a sari or a suit, which would be, or formal trousers and so, which would be considered to be a formal dressing over there. Right? Skirts won't be considered as such. You see, formal skirts, let's keep it aside. But just apart from that, any denim skirts or so, that won't be considered to be a formal dressing. Right? But yes, internationally in some other countries, even these skirts being used for, the business meetings or so, could be considered to be the formal dressing. Right? So these are the cultural differences. And again, just like language barriers, when you have to deal with people from Japan and Germany, here also you have to deal with people from different religions. And in some particular, different religions, no, different countries, again you need to take care of these cultural differences, right? So in some particular countries, if you go late for attending a meeting, they feel very offended. They feel it's an insult. You could not have insulted them more. Just how much you've insulted them by coming late for a meeting. Indian context also it is improving, but Indian we always say half an hour late and Indian standard time, that type of an attitude. Okay, so now being on time or being late, different cultures could interpret it differently. Right, so here we talk about the cultural barriers, right? So now that we are talking about MNCs, multinational companies, international trade, international business, we have to appreciate the culture, right? The cultures which are there in that particular country or that particular religion of the people with whom you are dealing with. Okay, right. Understanding cultural aspects of communication refers to having knowledge of different cultures in order to communicate effectively with cross-culture people. Right, so you should be knowing how to communicate. What is this? So if you have to say, for some, let's say later on you plan to go to America for your studies, or you're being sent by office to Japan for some particular client meeting over there. So before you go to Japan, you should do some study about the Japanese culture. Like before you go to America for your studies, you should be doing some study regarding the American culture, regarding their work culture, regarding their, the office life and everything, regarding how the meetings and how the presentation, how the greetings and so are given. Okay, understanding various cultures in this era of globalization is an absolute necessity, right? So you don't have, your competition is now not at the local level or at the country level, it is at the international level. So it says it's an absolute necessity as the existence of cultural differences, and that's what I was telling you. It could be a dressing difference, it could be a food difference, it could be a timing difference, it could be a greeting difference, it could be a bowing down difference and a greeting. So cultural differences between people from various countries, region, tribes and religions. Right? So religions also, where words and symbols may be interpreted differently, can result in communication barriers and miscommunication. Right? Multinational companies offer special, right, courses and documents to familiarize their staff with the culture of the country where they are based for work. Okay. In addition, every organization too has its own work culture. Right? So every organization, even they are having their own work culture. Right? So some organization they say Friday casual dressing allowed. Another organization say no, Friday also formal dressing only, no casual dressing. So it's a difference in the work culture. Right. So in fact, departments within the same company may also differ in their expectations, norms and ideologies. Right. This can impact the intra and the inter-organizational communication. And so different departments in the organization, even they could be having a different work norm, a different work culture. Right. The same principles applies to families and family groups where people have different expectations according to their background and traditions, leading to friction and misunderstanding. And so when some, what you say some particular say a Punjabi person gets married to a South Indian and a person from South India. So again, there are going to be different expectations, different traditions, different festivals which are being celebrated, different style of dressing, different food, which is going to be eaten by, which they generally eat. Right, so very simple language is the way in which the food is served by a member of a family. Right, so say in some particular community, say they first start the food by eating rice, and some other communities say they first start with eating the roti and the vegetable, right, the chapati and the vegetable, and then after that the rice. So if that person who is first used to eating roti, chapati and then the rice later on, if he is directly served rice, he'll feel offensive, he'll feel bad. He says, what, these people don't want me to eat, or what is it? Right? Why they have directly served me rice? Because he never knew. He thought that what is wrong? Why they are directly serving me rice? And he always knew since his childhood ever that first in your plate there is roti, sabzi coming in, and then after that it is the rice. Now today if the food was served, then he is directly given rice. Right, right. So very simple way is of the food which is served by a member of the family. It can be the cause of appreciation or displeasure. Right. So very again a big barrier to communication could be the cultural barrier to the communication. Right. So what are the barriers that we've talked about? The physical barrier, right? Then the organization structure barrier, then the language barrier, the cultural barrier. Now we talk about the emotional barrier. Right, we talk about the emotional barrier. Right, it says one of the chief barrier, main important barrier to effective communication, to open and free communication, is the emotional barrier. And anger, fear of criticism or ridicule, mistrust of a person, suspicion of intention, jealousy, anxiety, and many more feelings and sentiments we carry within us affect our communication ability and quality. Right, so sometimes when you are very angry, they say you please don't speak anything right now. And then you cool down, you please settle down for some time, let some time go, drink some water, and then we will talk about it. Undoubtedly we will talk, but we'll just talk about it a little bit later. And because right now I don't think that you are in the right mood, frame of mind to talk. So if we talk right now, no, unnecessarily that might lead to some quarrel, it might lead to some misunderstanding, it might lead to some further, complexity. So better we just leave it as it is and talk about it sometime later. Right? So that is anger. Fear of criticism. You say whatever I say, this person is not going to not like my new idea only, not like the new product only. Right? Ridicule. Right? That is, they will unnecessarily, what you say, type of bullying or so. Right? Mistrust of a person. You say whatever I say, this person is not going to be trusting me. Right? So mistrust of a person, suspicion. And again, this person has done a fraud and now he is touching me about ethics and the policy of the company and so. It's a suspicion of intention. You're saying what you're teaching me about ethics. I saw that yesterday company ka 20,000 rupees you took away. And so suspicion of intention, jealousy. And he got a promotion, he got an opportunity to go to Japan. You are not getting that opportunity. So jealousy and anxiety. And you're so excited to tell about that we have, earned that particular, we have won that particular contract or so. And many more feelings. It says there is no end. This is just a drop in the ocean. And many more feelings and sentiments we carry within us affect our communication ability and quality. Right, a person who is upset. And a person who is upset and not set, upset. And a setting is upped. And a setting is disturbed. And upset, look at the word, then the literal meaning. It's not set. Something is not set. Something is disturbed. Upset and disturbed cannot pass on or receive information appropriately and objectively. Her emotions will color. Yes, his perception and assessment of the communication. They say, if you wear green color glasses, the entire world will look green to you. If you wear yellow color glasses, the entire world will look yellow color to you. And also right now you're upset. So now everything right now looks gloomy and, negative to you. So not the right time to communicate. Because the frame of mind, the attitude towards looking at the world is affected right now. It is biased right now. Right? So that's an emotional barrier. So you're going through some, mainly over here we are talking about all the negative emotions. Upset, disturbed, ridicule, anxiety, mistrust, suspicion. Right? So if you're positive and happy, it's the perfect time to communicate. But some negative emotions you're going through, it says it could be a barrier to the communication. Next one, attitude barrier. Attitude, I know everything. What you'll explain to me, that type of an attitude. Lazy attitude. And a lazy, overconfident attitude. Now, this is not that right now you're angry or you're happy or you trust or you don't trust. That is emotion. That's a feeling. Now, this is what your approach. And anything I tell you, you take it lightly only. And that's an attitude. Okay, so personal attitude of employees can affect the communication within an organization. A proactive, motivated worker will facilitate the communication process. And happily communicating. Everybody wants to talk to that person. Everybody wants to listen to that person talking. So proactive, happy, motivated worker. Like considering it my company, my organization, I will do the best. That type, proactive. will facilitate the communication process, whereas a dissatisfied, some people always negative, it's like the height of negativity in some people, unnecessarily grumbling, everything is so good in their life but just by nature grumbling, and a dissatisfied, disconsolate, and a disgruntled, shy, and a very shy. They say, no, no, you go, no, you talk, no, please, I don't want to talk. You go, talk, please, please, please. Next time I'll go and talk. This time you go and talk. What you go, I go. What life what you are spending your life doing all this? Just simply go and talk, yaar. Not the end of the world. If you happen to speak wrong, we'll see what will happen. Go and talk. Give your first presentation in life. Do 10 mistakes. And don't be shy. Nothing to be shy about. Introvert. Talking within yourself. Not talking anything to the world. And introvert. Lot of accumulation of emotions and lot of heaviness over here. Not being, open-hearted. Very bad. Very bad for you also and very bad for people around you also. You make your day bad and 10 people around you, their day also will go bad. So introvert or lazy employee, very bad. Lazy, not opposite of proactive, lazy employee. That proposal, no, they talk also in a lazy manner. You feel like disgusted. You feel like, shaking those people. What is wrong with you? And a lazy employee can delay, hesitate in taking the initiative or refuse to communicate. Right? So attitude problems can be addressed by good management and regular interaction with the staff member. Right? So keeping them pro the company and not anti the company, not against the company, that can be addressed by good management and regular interaction with the staff member. Right? So we have the emotional barrier and then we have the attitude barrier. Right? Emotional and the attitude. Then the perception barrier. Right? So each one, how he perceives the world, right, is different. And this causes the problems in the communication. Each one of us, right, perceives the world differently. That's what I just told you, even for the emotional barrier. No? If you're wearing yellow color glasses, the entire world will look yellow to you. And if there is a print of Eiffel Tower on your glasses, then the entire world, you will just see Eiffel Tower everywhere. Right? If there are thorns on your, on your glasses, then across the world, everywhere you will be just seeing thorns and thorns and thorns. Right? So each one of us, right, perceive the world. It is your conditioning. It is the conditioning of your mind, and this causes problems in the communication. What we generally refer to in management studies as the half glass full and the half glass empty. And I said there is a glass water kept over there, right, and it is half full. Right, so some of you would say that, oh, the half glass is empty, and some of you might say that the half glass is full. And so it depends on the way you look at it. And they always give this example of the half glass full and the half glass empty. Okay, right, the same content is seen and interpreted differently by two people, and thereby lies the root cause of miscommunication and the misunderstanding. Right, the root cause, it says the same content and the same glass. Not that I'm showing you a different glass and a different glass to the other person. Same glass, same half glass of water, but one person is saying that it is half empty, another person is saying that it is half full. Are both of them right? Both of them are right. But is there a difference in their perception? Yes, there is a difference in their perception. Right? There is a difference in their perception. So I think these three, I can just make a bundle of these three together. Emotional, attitude and perception. They are interwoven. They are interrelated to each other. The emotional, what you say, at this point of time, what emotions are you going through? Right? Then your attitude. And yes, so generally what is your attitude? Lazy, proactive, those type. And the way you look at things. Right? So that's the perception barrier. Right? So emotional barrier, attitude barrier and the perception barrier. Next one, the physiological barrier. Right? You're not having good health. Right? You're not able to hear properly. You're not able to see properly. Now this bad health, this ill health is also going to be a barrier to communication. And ill health, poor eyesight, hearing difficulty or any other physiological problems can be hurdles in effective interaction with the others. Right? So very important to be fit. Right? So that's the physiological barrier. right? So very easy, health related issues, right? Those would be the physiological barriers, right? So one, we had the physical barriers, and that was noise, disturbances, the first one. This is physiological. So here we are talking about the health related issues. Right, here we are talking about the health related issues, right? The physiological barriers. Okay, right. And then we have the technology barriers, right? So technology and physical can again be put together, and the technology and the physical barriers can be interrelated, right? So in today's world, communication modes are primarily technology driven. Right, this communication technology is being constantly upgraded, or new formats emerge ever so frequently. And anyone who is not tech friendly struggles to communicate effectively via the medium. Right, so earlier there used to be board meetings, face to face board meetings, and now they are taking place over the Zoom. Right, and now say you're not familiar with the Zoom app, then obviously that's going to be a barrier to the communication. You don't know how to, start the video, start the audio, how to, to put a message in the chat box. You don't know how to answer the question to a particular poll, right? So that's going to be a barrier. You're not tech friendly, so that's going to be a barrier to effective communication. Right. Moreover, an individual is faced with huge amount of information every day. So nowadays it's always a problem of information overload. And a work follows you everywhere like a tail, Now everywhere you go, the tail comes along. And everywhere you go, it's not that earlier, when there used to be those physical books and papers and no technology, no email or everything. Work used to stay back in office only. Now you go to any part of the world, the work will travel with you. And the work will travel with you, right? So in the form of mails, text and social updates, multitasking is the norm these days, right? The information overload and trying to accomplish too many things together can result in gaps in communication and the miscommunication, right? So you're attending a Zoom meeting, at the same time you're updating some Excel में, some table में, some data. At the same time you're preparing a PowerPoint presentation, you're also preparing some letter in Word. So now doing so many things at the same time, obviously you will not be able to do justice to that Zoom call on which you are there right now. Right, so multitasking is the norm. The information overload and trying to accomplish too many things together, right, can result in gaps in communication and miscommunication. And the opposite person, he feels insulted when you're not doing justice, when that opposite person is talking to you and you're saying, you tell me, I'm just doing my work. He'll not feel motivated to talk to you. The purpose of communication will not be served. Okay, right, so that's the technology barrier to the communication, right? So what all barriers have we seen so far? The physical barrier. Right? Then after the physical barrier, we have the organization structure barrier, right? Then the language barrier and the cultural barrier. Then emotional attitude, perception. Then the physiological and the technology. And then we have the gender barrier. And men and women communicate differently. Right? You might have heard a title of some book, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. So men and women communicate differently. Like say example, if one of your the friend has one particular boy, he has purchased a new laptop. So you ask your friend, okay, what laptop have you purchased? So he says, okay, it is a 2 TB hard disk, and then it's got the Intel processor, and then the 8 GB RAM, and then the latest i5 processor, and then these are the hard disk configuration and the internal disk, and what is the backup, and the all the technical details he will tell you. And you ask the boy, which laptop did you purchase? So he'll say, it's the latest model, it's the new one, even the 5G, it is 5G enabled, and it's a touch screen, and then you can use it it's got a writing pen along with it, and all those technical details. And then the specifications of the laptop are provided by that friend. And say one of the girl, she also purchases a new laptop. So you ask her, which laptop have you taken? So she says pink color. And so for her, means what you have taken means the color, the pink color. So it doesn't matter to her whether it is a 2 TB hard disk or whether it's an Intel processor or a Ryzen processor or any such thing. What matters to her is that she has taken a pink color laptop. है ना. So now see, you asked your friend कि which laptop have you taken, and then he gives you a 20 pointer का list, है ना, कि these are the features of the laptop that I've taken, and you ask the girl, है ना, कि which laptop have you taken, so she says pink color. Okay, so obviously men and women, they communicate very very differently, है ना. For a man, it would be that if it is, it's like a fixed deposit. If it is said once that that I will I will do this work, it is said okay, I will do this work, not required to say 10 times like a recurring deposit. But for a girl, yes, it has to be said 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, I'll do this work properly, I'll do this work properly. Because men, they work on the fixed deposit scheme, whereas women, they would be working on the recurring deposit scheme, and continuous, again and again the refilling is required. It doesn't work on a one time deposit. Right, so men and women communicate differently, and look at the reason, the scientific reason they've given over there. The reason for this lies in the wiring of a man's and woman's brain. And it says the wiring is different, it is manufacturing defect. And it is customized only that way. So you cannot, there is no way out of it. This is reality, you have to accept it. You say, why? Why that girl said pink color, and why this boy, he gave so much of specifications? It says this is how it is made. You just appreciate and accept it as it is. Right, men talk in a linear, logical and compartmentalized manner. Right, in a very, in a very proper flow of thoughts men would speak. Whereas women use both logic and emotion. So a lot of emotions, they'll keep on saying, but I feel so. Men will say, this is what it is. No, women, they will add their own spice into it, that I feel so, and are more verbose. More verbose, that is, they will speak more. Okay, so I had just seen this, heard about this somewhere. Okay, there was, a particular advertisement which has been put over there. Okay, spoken English. We are talking about developing our communication skills. So spoken English, and a guarantee that you will be able to speak, is 100% guarantee that you will be able to speak English effectively. 100% guarantee that you will be able to speak English effectively in a fluent manner. And it's 100% guarantee that you'll be able to speak English fluently. And then there was a note written below that for women candidates, for lady candidates, for women candidates, there is a 50% discount in the fees. So learn to speak English fast, and for women candidates, there is a 50% discount. Right, so if the fee is 10,000, then for men the fee is 10,000, and for women the fee is only 5,000. Right, so now one particular man, very logical, he went and asked, okay, why like this? So why that 100% guarantee, learn to speak English fast. For women there is 50% discount, and for men you are charging 100% of the fee, 10,000. So they say, women, they already know how to speak fast. We only need to speak them how to speak English. Women, they said, okay, so men, we have to teach them two things. We have to teach them English also, and we have to teach them how to speak fast also. For women, they already know how to speak fast. We only need to teach them how to speak English. That is why for them it is only 50% of the work. So that is why 50% discount in the fees. Okay, right. Anyways, right. So women use both logic and emotions. They can, oh no, but then this is what, oh, it was so amazing. Oh, I thought that as if, it is heaven. And I thought, oh wow, such a cabin, such an office should be designed, such a product, and so much of emotions and expression of thought and more verbose. Okay, now this may be, but now listed companies, the Securities Exchange Board of India has made it compulsory that listed companies, on the board of directors of the company, on the board of the company, there has to be at least one woman director. All men, it says no. And then they have considered a lot of reasons, regarding why this requirement has come for listed companies. Okay, why at least one woman director should be on the board. Like, so if there are 12 members on the board, it says at least one should be a woman director. At least one. It's compulsory by law now for listed companies. And SEBI has said so. Okay, so why is it so? It says, one, when there is a woman director on the board of the company, the men dress more appropriately. And the men, the 11 men, it says they would dress in whatever are the men on the directors, who are the directors of the company, they would dress more appropriately. Right. Then there is also more of a sense of emotions in the decisions which are taken by the company. There is also proper discipline, which is maintained in the conduct of the meeting, in the informal jokes or the pulling of the legs of the other people, or the decency which is maintained in the meeting when there is a presence of a woman over there. Right? So that is why it is said that compulsory, that you need to have a woman director in the company. Okay, right. So this may be the cause of communication problem in an office where both men and women work side by side. Men can be held guilty of providing insufficient information. So he said he just came and he told that this is the new product. And men may be guilty of providing the insufficient information, while women, and what does it say? While women may be blamed for providing too much detail, and too much of detail, and giving so much of information regarding everything around, and too much of detail, and not coming to the point, and making a full story out of it. Okay, but when it came to technical detail, then zero, then saying only pink wala and a pink color, right? Then men giving all the technical details, and that was in technical context. But other than that, if they have to talk, if they put across a particular point, okay, why should company open a new branch in Chennai, and why should the company open a new branch in Germany? Now to talk about that, say men would just say that these are the facts available, and on the basis of this the company should consider. And the woman, she can talk for half an hour about it. Okay, right. Gender bias is another factor in communication barrier. So due to traditional mindset, and many men find it difficult to take orders from or to provide information to the women, right? But anyways, now these barriers are diminishing day by day, right? So these are the different barriers to the communication. Right, these are the different barriers to the communication. What are the different barriers to communication? Let us try to summarize. Right, so one is, what were the different barriers to the communication? Right, what are the different barriers to the communication? So one, we had the physical barriers, right? Then we also have the physiological barriers, then also the technology barriers, right? Then also the technology barriers to the communication, right? Then we have the language barriers to the communication, right? The language barriers and also the cultural barriers to the communication, right? Then you have the emotional barriers to the communication, right? Then also the attitude, right, barriers to the communication, and then also the perception barriers to the communication, right? The emotional, right, these three we had combined them together over here, right? The emotional, attitude, and the perception barriers to the communication, right? And then after that we also have the organizational structure, right? The organization structure barriers to the communication, and also the gender barriers to the communication, right? So 1 2 3 is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10, right? These are the 10 barriers to the communication, right? These are the 10 barriers to the communication. And a physical, physiological, right? So physical, noise; physiological, health related; technology, information overload, multitasking, right? Language, and so what about very technical language or ambiguous words, or not having the knowledge of a particular language? So those would be the language barrier. Right? Then cultural differences among the people of different countries, different religion, there could be the cultural barriers. Emotional, too angry, right? What does it say, right? Too angry, or upset or disturbed about something, right? Then attitude, right? That is lazy attitude, or so shy, introvert person, or a proactive, motivated worker. Perception, how you look at it. We took the example of the half glass full and the half glass empty, right? Organization structure, unclear chain of command, and roles and responsibilities not clear, and the gender barrier. And men and women communicate differently. Why? Because the wiring of the brain itself is different. right? So I hope it's clear, and all, if you're listening to me, there is a chance that it is going to be clear. If you're already, your mind is somewhere and just physically you're sitting in front of the screen, no use, and no use at all, right? So barriers to communication, right? Then we have one more question over there, which is regarding the measures to overcome the barriers to effective communication, and measures to overcome. See, what I personally think is that we already know what are the principles of effective communication. The credibility, the courtesy, the conciseness, the concreteness, the correctness, right? We also have the shortness, the simplicity, the strength, is all of those which we have, right? Those are the principles of effective communication. So obviously, the more I use the principles of effective communication, these barriers to communication won't be there. I know. So these measures to overcome the barrier to effective communication would be somewhat similar to the principles of our effective communication. The principles of effective communication. Can I take a help from the principles of effective communication for this answer of the measures to overcome the barriers to effective communication? Yes. Right. So what are the measures to overcome the barriers to effective communication? So it says I'm not able to communicate effectively. So how to overcome that barrier? Right. So one, clarify the ideas. What we had studied in the principle, clarity. Clarity. Absolute clarity, rather that is the word which we had used, right? So clarify the ideas before communication. And so any idea to be communicated, any issue to be communicated to a subordinate should be clearly and completely studied and analyzed by the superior, right? So any matter, so you need to do your homework before you communicate any issue. Moreover, it should be stated in such a manner that subordinate can easily understand it in the same sense in which the supervisor wants to receive it, right? So again, simplicity, easily understand, and in the same sense in which the supervisor wants him to receive it, right? Then communicating according to the need of the receiver. Right, so it says you need to consider the level of understanding and the education of the subordinates must be very clear to the manager. Manager should try to communicate according to their level. Right, so say the subordinate, he doesn't know all the technical terms. So you should avoid using those technical terms when you're communicating with that subordinate, right? So then it would make the communication more effective. Then consult others before communicating. Desirable to involve others in developing a plan for communication. Consulting these subordinates before communicating the message will help to gain their ready acceptance and willing cooperation, so that they are also mentally prepared. They also get time to analyze before you communicate. So they'll be more open, more receptive to the communication. Right? So consult others. Be aware of the language. The words which you use, right? The tone and also the content of the message. Right? The language, the tone, the content of the message to be communicated are very important aspects of effective communication. Language should be clear, simple and easily understandable. And the tone, what we talked about it in the para language. Right? The tone and content of the message should not provide any harm to the sentiments of the listeners. Rather, it should stimulate them to give the response. So not to hurting the sentiments of any person. So you should always be using a friendly but a firm tone in your report. Not hurting these sentiments. Otherwise, you will never be heard by any person. Nobody will be willing to listen to you in the organization if you hurt the sentiments of any person. Right. Convey things of help and value to the listeners. Right. So you always have to communicate in a manner which is of interest to the listener. Otherwise, nobody will be interested in listening to you. Right, so it's always better to know the needs and interest of the listener before communicating the message. The response from the listener is surely obtained if the message is related directly or indirectly to their needs or interest. Right, so if I tell you, say now let's talk about a commerce as a sector of education, as a commerce sector. So then you'll be interested. Okay, I'm doing a commerce, so let me see what are the avenues and options available. So I say now let's talk about pharmacy. Or any medical field as a sector of education. So then you say now pharmacy, medical, what interest? I am not interested. I am so interested anything related to commerce only. right? So related to their needs or interest. Then ensure proper feedback. This we had seen in the communication process also, that without feedback, communication process now, I just communicated and I didn't check from you whether you understood or not, then the communication is not effective. And then the communication is not effective, right? So proper feedback helps in improving the communication process, right? The sender should ask questions regarding the message conveyed, and the receiver should be encouraged to respond to the communication, right? So proper feedback, very, very important component, essential component of the effective communication is the feedback. Then communicate for present as well as for the future. In order to maintain consistency, the communication aims at meeting both the present as well as the future requirements of an organization. Right? So plan of action, it has to be future oriented. So you analyze the present and you also plan for the future, right? So communication has to incorporate both the present as well as the future. Okay, right. Follow up communication. Regular follow up and review of instructions given to the subordinate helps in removing the difficulties in implementing the instruction. Right, so follow up, not that you communicated and now I told you that after 1 week I want this report. I have communicated. So not that directly after 1 week I will ask you. In between also regular follow up should be done. Right, in between also the regular follow up should be done. And last one, if you want people to listen to you, first you should learn to listen to people. As simple as that. And what you give, that you get. Okay, so if you want that people should listen to me, then you listen to people, people will also listen to you. It cannot be one way, it has to be a two-way communication. So it says be a good listener. It has been well established that listening attentively solves more than half of the problems in any organization, right? So if you listen properly, if you listen attentively, if you are not clouded by your own thoughts, imaginations, perceptions, then half of the problems in the organization would be sorted. Hence, to overcome all likely communication barriers, a manager should try to be a good listener also. So not that I am telling you, you also tell me, let me listen to that carefully, and then what I tell you will be taken more positively, will be understood more effectively. Right? So not only that manager subordinate, that manager will communicate to subordinate and that the subordinate should listen. Even the manager should be listening to what the subordinate is telling. Right? So there has to be the effective two-way communication. Right? So that is regarding the measures to overcome the barriers to the effective communication. Right? Clarity. Right? Then communicating according to the need of the receiver. Then consulting before communicating. Be aware of the language, tone and content, right? Convey things of help and value. The needs and interest of the receiver, of the listener are to be taken into consideration. Ensure proper feedback, communication for present as well as for the future. Right? Then follow up and also be a good listener. Right, so very successfully we have completed the discussion of our chapter number 1, our unit 1, which was regarding the introduction to the business communication. Right, so we started with the meaning, the process and the importance of communication, then the principles of effective communication, the types of communication. And based on communication channel, we had the verbal, non-verbal and the visual. And based on the purpose and style, we had the formal and the informal communication. Under formal communication, we had the vertical, horizontal and the diagonal communication. And under the informal communication, we had the grapevine. Right, and then after that we studied about the barriers to communication and the guidelines, right, the measures to overcome the barriers to the effective communication. Right, so that completes a very, very theory type of a chapter on the business communication. Right, next class we start with our discussion on the unit 2, right, the second one, which is regarding the business letters. Right, so business letters, we are going to see that what is a business letter. Right, so what is the need for a business letter? What is the format, the layout, the presentation style of a business letter? And what are the different kinds of the business letters? Right, so now unit 2, 3, 4, mainly our discussion is all going to be regarding the different types of letters, right? It is going to be regarding the different types of letters, right? So I request all of you to please go through the theory of this particular chapter and prepare any small notes or the important points. You can just keep a record of the same in your notebook, right? So that you can use it for your revision purposes later on, right? Thank you so much, and I meet you all in the next class. Bye bye.